If you can get over your fear of death, then nearly all fears wash away, and then you can start to truly live. Death is not the enemy. A wasted life is. And the thought of death can be your catalyst to stop wasting your life. So the thought of death can be the cure to the enemy of wasting time. Welcome to Stoic School with myself, William Mulligan, author of The Everyday Stoic, Simple Rules for a Good Life. This is the first lesson, and I've picked a great topic. But the idea of Stoic School is by the time you reach the end and you've graduated episode 100, because I'll be releasing 100 lessons, 100 days of education and entertainment, hopefully, with me. By the time you've reached day 100 or even day 20, you'll fully understand Stoicism. You'll understand how to incorporate it into your life and live what the Stoics call the good life. You'll become Stoic, which is a very cool way of saying you'll be calmer, happier, more balanced, more fulfilled, more successful. All around a better version or the best version of yourself. I'm speaking from personal experience. It took me a long time to get to where I am with my life, to get past many of my difficulties and feel this balance. But hopefully, by me condensing it and explaining it in simpler terms and practical ways, you will get there much faster than me. Maybe it took me a decade. Hopefully, it'll only take you these 100 days, 20 days, 30 days. Who knows? If you're a fast learner, maybe it's 2 episodes. Today's episode is powered by Huel. Let's jump into the episode. Today's episode is on the topic of, and I think this is a very good topic to start on because number one, it is the most requested subject in Stoicism. If I ever post about it on Instagram, it becomes the most popular. It's very interesting. And I think people want to know what it's all about. And it's also the one that can help you the most, or it can help you a lot. It helped me a lot. Also, it seems a bit scary and morbid. That is the topic of what is Memento Mori. Starting with a quote by French philosopher Albert Camus. Come to terms with death. Thereafter, anything is possible. And in 1710, the Hagakari was written, which was the book, The Way of the Samurai. And it was written in that book. The way of the samurai is, morning after morning, the practice of death, considering whether it will be here or there, imagining the most sightly way of dying, and putting one's mind firmly on death. Although this may be difficult, if one will do it, it can be done. There is nothing that one should suppose cannot be done. And then if you look in the Old Testament, several passages relate to the same topic. Moses prays that God would teach his people to number our days that we may get our heart full of wisdom. Victorious Roman generals would have slaves whisper in their ear, Memento Mori. And on Ash Wednesday, when ashes are placed upon your head, the worshipper is reminded, remember man, that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Diogenes the Cynic, very famous cynic, he used to walk around naked, lived in a barrel. He said to his followers one day, he says, when I die, throw me over the castle walls and just leave me there, the city walls. And all of his followers got upset and says, but the animals, they'll feast on your remains. And Diogenes said, well, give me a stick so I can fight them off. Are these answering your questions of what is Memento Mori? I'm trying to paint a picture. So, Memento Mori is a Latin phrase that means remember death, or remember that you are mortal. The idea is that by remembering your own mortality, you'll live a more grateful life, a more fulfilled life, a more urgent life, because we live, as Seneca says, as if we'll live forever, as if we had 1,000 years to do all the things we could do, but we don't have 1,000 years. We don't have very long at all. So whilst you're alive, whilst you can, do the things that you want to do. Because soon this life will be over. Like, I'm 28 now. I don't know how old you are, but it's gone by in a flash. And not that it's a bad thing. You know, we've had lives that we've lived, and all that exists is this present moment. What I'm saying is, think of all the things you haven't done in all that time, the things you've been putting off for 10 years, 5 years, 1 year. And just make sure you get those things done, because we don't have thousands of years to do it. So if you think about the Stoics, I'm going to talk about Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. Number one is the fear of death is what holds most people back from truly living. And the Stoics believed that one of the most important things you could ever do is get over your fear of death and then remind yourself of your own mortality. This was very important. It wasn't essential to being a Stoic, but it was one of their favorite practices, and it was one of their preferred exercises that they taught people because they understood the power of it. I'll just explain from my own personal anecdotes. I used to procrastinate a lot. I used to be very disassociated. I wasn't very present. I was daydreaming a lot, just not really there. And then, you get to the end of the day and you feel a bit like a zombie. Like, what did I do? How did I travel 2 hours on the bus? How am I laying in bed? What did I do in my day? Where did it go? I didn't do all the things I wanted to do. And then when I started doing this practice in the Memento Mori, an exercise I like to do is very simple. So I'll be sat on the bus and I would just say to myself, this moment right here will be my last, or it could be my last, who knows. If it were to be my last, let me appreciate it for what it is. And that's not to say, let's go on the bus and do something crazy, consume loads of bad things, do loads of bad things. All these things, go skydive and go crazy. It's not that. It's saying, if this moment right here, me talking to this camera, if this were to be my last, am I enjoying what this is? Am I feeling what this is, the present moment? And am I fully consuming it, being there? And I remember I was speaking to Master Shang Yi at the Shaolin Temple, Europe, and we was talking on the topic of Memento Mori. And he said two things to me. He said, number one, who is to say that death is not right around the corner? And he said, you could finish this talk with me, step outside the room and be killed, which is true. But the other thing that made me think is he said, if you're talking to someone and you're not fully there, and you get a sense when you talk to him that he's fully there, he's fully present. If you're not there in that moment, being present, then you're doing them a disservice. You're stealing them of your presence. It's not fair. So Memento Mori has helped me be more present and fully appreciate life. And I know it sounds morbid, and there is one caveat to that. If you're a type of person that ruminates and this is causing disturbance, then you can listen to this episode, maybe not practice it, and then you'll be excited to know the next episode is not about Memento Mori. A quick word from our sponsor, Huel. I really like Huel. When I was writing my book, I was using Huel to power me through every single day. When I had my daily greens, when I had my meals, when I had my shakes, it stopped me from going to the shop, buying a load of rubbish, buying a load of unhealthy food, wasting loads of money. And these things do add up. Those quick journeys to the shop every day, the money adds up, the unhealthy foods add up, the wasted time adds up. So if I ever get those cravings, I grab a Huel and it fills my cravings. I feel good, it tastes delicious, it's quick and easy. And if you have any interest in the Huel products, then check the link in the description. Let's get back to the episode. So something to note. Marcus Aurelius, he was sick his whole life. He was surrounded by death during the Marcomannic Wars, during the Antonine Plague. He lost 9 of his own children, lost countless of his loved ones, friends, countrymen. He had many attempts of assassination on his life because he was in such position of power. And in his book, he wrote a diary called The Meditations. He talks about death a lot, coming to terms with death and seeing death as beautiful. There's many quotes because people think death is evil. Zeno of CTM, the founder, said that death is not evil because death can be honorable, but evil cannot be honorable. So that makes death not an evil. Marcus Aurelius, he was sick his whole life, and there's a famous painting by French artist Eugène Delacroix called The Last Words of the Great Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and it's on his deathbed. And this is a historical account of him being sat on his deathbed. And apparently, he was really calm. And he was just talking to his friends and family. And the last thing he ever said was, "Go to the rising sun, for I am already setting." So he wasn't even worried about his own death. He was worried about the future heir. He was trying to make sure that the people that had looked after him his whole life would also look after his son Commodus, which, if you know anything about history or if you've watched Gladiator, it didn't go so well for Commodus. And then Seneca, he tutored Emperor Nero, who was very evil, horrible emperor. And he tutored him, and Emperor Nero, towards the later stages of his life, decided that Seneca should be killed. So he sentenced him death by suicide, and it is recalled by historians, that Seneca was very calm. He slit his own wrists, and then he drank hemlock, and he didn't seem too scared of death. Epictetus, he just didn't really care at all. He talks about stories about being threatened to have his head chopped off, and just not complaining about it, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. He actually had a practice, said when you kiss your child or wife goodnight, remind yourself that they are mortal, and this could be the last time kissing them. Many of his stuff has to be taken with a pinch of salt, because he was being funny. He was winding up his students, in a sense. But the idea is, if you think, that the fear of death holds us back in life, and death is natural. Like the falling of the leaves, humans fall too to the ground and become dust. So it's so natural, and it will happen. Why do we fear it so much? Why does it hold us back from life? And many psychologists believe that nearly all fears stem from the fear of death. You're scared of a bear because you think the bear could kill you. You're scared of killer clowns because the killer clowns could kill you. You're scared of the dark because in the dark you could be killed. You're scared of loud noises because loud noises can kill you. You're scared of heights because heights can kill you. You're scared of strange people and public situations because strange people and strangers can kill you. So if you can get over your fear of death, then nearly all fears wash away, and then you can start to truly live. And I'll read some quotes from the Stoics on the topic of death. Epictetus, who I didn't describe earlier, he was a Greek-born slave. He was crippled when his master snapped his leg. It's a great story to be told in another episode. His master snapped his leg, so he was crippled. And then when he was eventually freed, he went out to teach Stoicism to people on the streets. He said, "I cannot escape death, but at least I can escape the fear of it." Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, said, "No evil is honorable, but death is honorable. Therefore, death is not evil." Marcus Aurelius, the great emperor of Rome, the last great emperor of Rome, who served during the Pax Romana, the golden age of the Roman Empire. He was the last one to serve during that era. He said, "Brief is a man's life, and small the nook of earth where he lives. Brief, too, is the longest posthumous fame, buoyed only by a succession of poor human beings who will very die soon, and who know little of themselves, much less of someone who died long ago." Seneca, who was a politician and a writer, he was also super rich, probably a billionaire by today's standards. He said, "Were all the geniuses of history to focus on this single theme, they could never fully express their bafflement at the darkness of the human mind. No person would give up even an inch of their estate, and a slightly dispute with a neighbor can mean hell to pay. Yet, we easily let others encroach on our lives. Worse, we often pave the way for those who will take it over. No person hands out their money to passers-by, but to how many do each of us hand out our lives? We are tight-fisted with property and money, yet think too little of wasting time, the one thing about which we should all be the toughest misers." Seneca actually talks a lot about the shortness of life, and how it's not that we have a short amount of time, it's that we waste so much of it. But what I like to say, death is not the enemy. A wasted life is. And the thought of death can be your catalyst to stop wasting your life. So the thought of death can be the cure to the enemy of wasting time. So the next time you're procrastinating, just think on that thought, meditate on that thought. Was you born to doom scroll for 4 hours a day? Do you think when you're sat on your deathbed, which could be any day, do you think you'll go, "I'm glad I doom scrolled every day, 4 hours"? I've seen a video about this today. It's like 4 hours every single day over a year was a lot of time. I think it was 12 weeks. I might have got those numbers wrong. But Memento Mori, remember death. It is not morbid, it's beautiful. Steve Jobs said that, and this is when he was suffering with cancer, he was ill. He said that death and the thought of death removes all fear of embarrassment or fear of failure, and it strips away everything, leaving only what is truly important. And I believe that. And if you can just cast your minds to death every so often and remember your own mortality, I think you'll start to live a beautiful life. And that is true. It's happened for me, and it can happen to you. So that is it for day one, the first day of the 100-day Stoic School with myself, William Mulligan. So subscribe and follow so you don't miss the next episode. If you want to support what I'm doing, you want to support me, it is free. You can like the video, you can leave a comment, you can share it. If you're listening to this on a streaming platform, you can leave a rating. That really helps. And if you want to really go out your way to help me, you want to show me a big show of support, then share, and it helps someone else. Share Stoic School with a friend, because this is the best guide to Stoicism and how to live it, how to incorporate it into your life to become a Stoic. And you've got here early. So well done. And I'll see you in the next episode.